Forget bombs and bullets for just a second. What if I told you one of history's most powerful weapons didn't explode, but just reflected? We're about to dive into the wild story of how simple mirrors have shaped warfare, from an ancient, legendary death ray all the way to the deadly skies of World War II.
All right, let's go. Picture this. It's 212 BC, the siege of Syracuse. The massive Roman fleet is closing in on the city. Things look grim. But Syracuse has a secret weapon, the mind of an absolute genius, Archimedes.
And the legend is just incredible. They say Archimedes stood on the city walls, used a giant mirror, or maybe a bunch of mirrors, to focus the sun's rays into one terrifying beam and just incinerated the Roman warships from a distance. I mean, it's a super weapon from the ancient world, a literal death ray.
So to get our bearings, this is all happening during the Second Punic War. And for 2 long years, Archimedes' inventions, like the famous Claw of Archimedes, actually held the Romans back. It was in this incredibly desperate and inventive siege that this story of the burning mirror was born.
It's an awesome story, right? But here's the thing. When you actually try to apply modern science to it, yeah, that's when the whole legend starts to fall apart. People have put this to the test, a lot. From university researchers to TV shows, they've tried to recreate it. And the results? Well, they're pretty clear.
Scientists did the math. Just to get a piece of wood to smolder, not even catch fire, just smoke a little, from 50 meters away, you would need a reflective surface of 440 square meters. That is a massive area.
And this is where the legend just completely crumbles against reality. The story is one mirror, instant fire, moving ships, chaos of battle. The science says you'd need a huge array of mirrors, a target that's holding perfectly still, a cloudless day, and even then, you just get a slow burn that could be put out with a bucket of water.
But you know what the biggest piece of evidence against it is? The silence. The historians who wrote closest to the event, guys like Polybius, who might have even talked to survivors, they never mention it. Not a word. The first clear story of a death ray doesn't show up for 700 years. So, okay, the death ray is a myth. A fantastic story, but a myth. But the real history of reflective weapons? Well, it's actually even stranger, because it stopped being about destruction and started being about something way more subtle.
Now let's jump forward in time with me. 2,000 years, we're on the coast of England, between the 2 world wars. Before radar, Britain built these bizarre, giant concrete structures to protect itself. But they weren't designed to reflect light, they were reflecting something else. These are acoustic mirrors, basically giant concrete ears. They were built to capture the faint sound of enemy airplane engines coming across the English Channel and focus that sound onto a single point where a microphone was waiting. The goal? A few precious minutes of early warning.
The idea was truly ingenious, but it had a fatal flaw. In the 1930s, planes got faster and faster. Pretty soon, the warning time the mirrors gave shrank to almost nothing. By the time you heard the plane, it was already on top of you. The system was basically obsolete before it was finished. But, and this is crucial, the network they built to connect these listening stations became the foundation for Britain's next big thing, radar.
So the listening ears were a brilliant failure, a stepping stone to new tech. But reflection wasn't done with warfare, not by a long shot. Its next act would be its most dramatic. It evolved from a passive tool for detection into an active weapon of mass deception.
Okay, now we're in 1943, deep in the air war over Europe. Allied bomber crews are flying into the most dangerous skies the world has ever seen, and they are losing. Badly. They need a miracle. They need a way to blind the enemy. I mean, just look at these numbers. By the spring of '43, the losses were completely unsustainable. On some missions, 1 out of every 10 planes just didn't come back. For a crew, finishing a tour of 30 missions was a bet against impossible odds.
And this was the monster they were facing. The Kammhuber Line. It was an invisible fortress in the sky, an absolute marvel of German engineering, a web of radar stations that guided night fighters to the bombers with terrifying precision.
So this was the central problem, an existential one, really. How in the world do you fight an enemy you can't see? How do you break a defensive net that's literally built out of radio waves? Well, you do it with something so unbelievably simple, so low-tech, it's almost absurd. You might even have some of it in your kitchen right now.
This is it. They called it window. Today we call it chaff. It's literally just thin strips of aluminum foil, cut to the perfect length to reflect the German radar signals. The idea? Drop these out of a plane and each little bundle would look like a massive bomber on a radar screen, creating thousands of false targets.
The first massive test was Operation Gomorrah, the raid on Hamburg. As hundreds of bombers approached the Kamm-Huber line, the crews started pushing out one bundle of window every minute. On the ground, German radar operators could only watch in horror as their perfectly clear screens dissolved into a chaotic blizzard of electronic snow. The entire system, that invincible fortress, was made instantly blind.
And the effect, it was immediate and it was staggering. Bomber losses dropped from that catastrophic 10% all the way down to just 1.5%. A cheap, simple trick, basically tinfoil, had completely defeated one of the most advanced defense systems ever created.
The success of Window really did change the course of the air war, and it reveals a fundamental truth about warfare that goes way beyond just making things go boom.
And this is the core lesson here. Window didn't destroy a single radar dish. It did something much more powerful. It attacked the system. It broke the enemy's trust in their own technology. It turned their greatest strength into a crippling weakness.
So this leaves us with a pretty powerful thought. From the myth of Archimedes' destructive mirror to the reality of deceptive aluminum foil, the power of reflection has always been about more than just brute force. And it makes you wonder, in our world of cyber attacks and misinformation, is the most powerful weapon the one that can blow something up? Or is it the one that just makes an enemy doubt everything they see?